Bienvenue Magic players, I'm Insignios, and I want to talk about the Pioneer Challenger decks that are coming out next month, or in December if you live in Europe. Let's start off with Orzhov Humans. It's a very basic aggro strategy. You want to play stuff like Thalia's Lieutenant, Luminarch Aspirant to buff up all your creatures and then hit your opponent for massive damage, while also playing Thalia, Guardian of Thraben, so that way you can prevent your opponent from casting much in the way of removal. A single Godless Shrine is honestly disappointing. Would have been nice if it was two, ideally a full playset. We also get a full playset of Caves of Koilos and a full playset of Concealed Courtyard, which is great because that's a fast land, and the more times they print the fast lands, the better, right? We also get two Mutavaults, a Secluded Courtyard, and an Unclaimed Territory. In all honesty, you're going to want to take out the Secluded Courtyards and the Unclaimed Territory because they don't provide colored mana for stuff like Portable Hole, Bloodchief's Thirst, Dire Tactics, Go Blank, Rally the Ranks. Sure, they'll play for the colorless mana, especially if you have Thalia on the battlefield, but they won't pay for the colored, so you're just going to replace them with some more Godless Shrines and Bright Climb Pathways. But speaking of additions, let's talk about the things you want to add. Instead of Rally the Ranks, you're going to want Wedding Announcement because it's just a much better card. You're also going to want some Brutal Cathars, Adeline Resplendent Cathar, Graveyard Trespasser, Hopeful Initiate, Extraction Specialist, a single Kythian Hero of Akros, and maybe some General Kudro of Drannith in your sideboard. Even without all the upgrades, I'd say this is a pretty solid deck if you're just getting into the format. Let's hope the other three decks are just as good. Bienvenue Magic players, I'm Insignios, and I want to talk about the Pioneer Challenger decks that are coming out next month, or in December if you live in Europe. Next up we have Gruul Stompy, and I gotta say seeing Chandra, Torch of Defiance, Glorybringer, and Questing Beast is amazing to me. I played the standards where all these cards were legal, and they got to be pretty pricey at times. Anyway, these cards are your main win condition. You want to play stuff like Land War Elves or Elvish Mystic in order to get these high mana value cards onto the battlefield, so that way you can start messing with your opponent, while at the same time using Abrade, Missing Mortars, Bonecrusher Giant Stomp to start getting rid of your opponent's creatures, so that way they can't block, and then you want to play Scavenging Ooze to eat your opponent's creatures in the graveyard to get even bigger creatures. The playset of Skoos really did surprise me, but now that I think about it, Arclight Phoenix and a bunch of Delve cards are really prominent in the format, so it just makes sense. In terms of lands, we only get one Stomping Ground, which is a shame, but we also get 4 Creplusion Forests and 4 Rockfall Vales. It's amazing to me that they didn't take this opportunity to force you to spend more money to make your deck more competitive. They did in other ways though. Now to upgrade your deck, you're going to want some Cragground Pathways and more Stomping Grounds obviously, but you're also going to want some Squee, Dubious Monarchs, Elena and Alana Partners because they give your creatures haste, Reckless Stormseeker, they also can give your creatures haste, Elder Gargaroth because it's just a great card and it's the reason I hate green, and Ghalta Primal Hunger because it's just a really efficient card. They didn't include a Sickish Chariot or Embercleave, and that's a shame because most competitive Gruul Stompy decks run at least 2 of these, and it would have been nice if we got 1 of each, you know? It isn't a surprise that they didn't print Fable the Mirror Breaker here. It is a standard, well, multi-format all-star. In terms of this deck out of the box, it's fine, it's going to work, but in terms of getting all the upgrades to make it hyper-competitive or just the most competitive, just be prepared to spend some money. Bienvenue Magic players, I'm Insignios, and I want to talk about the Pioneer Challenger decks that are coming out next month, or in December if you live in Europe. Next up we have the Dimir Control deck, and this deck, you know what, let's start off with the positives. In terms of instants and sorceries, this deck is alright. 4 Considers and 4 Fatal Push is very much appreciated. The price of these cards was starting to go up, especially for a common and uncommon. Dig Through Time is an interesting choice. I honestly would have preferred Memory Deluge, but alright. But 2 Torrential Gilehulks, that's not bad. That's what most Dimir Control decks actually run. They don't run Murderous Rider, and they don't run Narset Parter of Veils at the very least on the main board. And 1 Watery Grave. Why only 2 Drowned Catacombs? Like, wait. The Gruul deck got 4 Rockfall Vales, and the Orzhov deck got 4 copies of Concealed Courtyard? Why is it... Temple of Deceit? Really? Why? Nobody plays the temples in constructed formats. Like, they barely even see play in Commander, and everything sees play in Commander. Like, where's Shipwrecked Marsh? Where's Clearwater Pathway? Come on, like, why not include those? And Hullbreaker Horror? Come on, like, give this deck a win condition, because they certainly didn't in the first place. There's only 1 Shark Typhoon. Like, the Shark Typhoon is meant to be like the win condition of this deck. The reason you run 4 is that way you can cycle them in the early game to make, like a little chump blocker until you're ready to play it, and then, have counterspells to back it up. It's just madness. Why wouldn't you include more Shark Typhoons? This deck isn't going to work out of the box because there's only 1 Shark Typhoon. So unless you have the other 3 Shark Typhoons in your collection, don't play this deck out of the box because it needs to be upgraded. This is like the Arclight Phoenix deck only coming with 2 Arclight Phoenixes. You've gotta be fucking kidding. Bienvenue Magic players, I'm Insignios. I've been playing Arclight Phoenix in Modern since 2019. I've also been playing it in Historic, been playing it in Explorer, and most recently I got it into Pioneer because my local game store finally started holding tournaments for that. I say all this because I feel that I'm a good authority on what makes a good card for Arclight Phoenix, what makes a good Arclight Phoenix deck, and this precon sucks. You only have 1 Steam Vents, that's pretty par for the course for this Challenger series, 4 Shivan Reefs, and 2 Sulphur Falls. Why only 2? And 4 Rockfall Vales, instead of Concealed Courtyard, 4 Temples of Epiphany.
Where's Spiral Canal?
Spiral Canal is nearing $20 at the moment. Like, that's insane. In terms of the instant sorceries, well, it's exactly what you need, except for Temporal Trespass. And wait, why is Expressive Iteration here? Wasn't that... Oh, right, you're allowed to play Expressive Iteration as long as you play this exact deck list. And no, don't do that. You're going to lose, because this only has 2 Thing in the Ice and 2 Arclight Phoenix. The strategy of an Arclight Phoenix deck is that of a spell-slinging deck. You play a bunch of cheap instant sorceries that draw you cards or discard you cards, and then you try to get your Arclight Phoenixes into the graveyard, and once you have at least 2, preferably more, but at least 2, you play 3 instant sorceries during your pre-combat main phase, so that they all come out to your battlefield and hit your opponent in the face. In the meantime, you play things like Young Pyromancer or Thing in the Ice, so that way you can lock your opponent's stuff, have different threats in case they have a graveyard hoser. As someone who's been playing this deck for the past 3 years, it can be a challenge to get all the Arclight Phoenixes into the graveyard. And that's with a full playset of 4 Phoenixes. Imagine how hard it's going to be when you only have 2. Ratios and all that math stuff. They didn't even have the decency to include Young Pyromancer in the sideboard. Like, what is this deck? What is this deck? If you are thinking of picking up this deck, I don't recommend picking up any of the Spiral of Canals. It's way too much money for a land. You're also going to want to pre-order 2 copies of Arclight Phoenix and 2 copies of Thing in the Ice, so that way you actually have them. Maybe some Young Pyromancers as well. Like, there are just so many things that could have easily been fixed. It's just cardboard. The printing power the Crackling Drakes take is the same amount that it takes to print more Arclight Phoenixes and Thing in the Ice. It is not that hard. Why?
Ah, shit.
I heard something come from over here. Uh-oh. Are they gone? Oh, bienvenue, Magic players. Long time no see. What do you mean Beauty's in charge? You're probably wondering what I'm doing here. Well, you see, after I exploded, I got sent through time and space, and I wound up here at WotC HQ in March of 2021. So while I'm here, I figured, why not make my own Magic card? And so I made Ledger Shredder. That's right, I'm taking credit for Ledger Shredder. It's the exact kind of card I'm making, and that's the story I'm going with. But why did I make it? Arclight Phoenix, that's about it. But what makes it so good? Well, the ability to filter through your library is really great, and the fact that it can trigger off your opponent means they have to play around it, otherwise they give you card advantage. It allows you to filter through your hand, discarding unwanted cards or cards that are better fit in the graveyard, like Arclight Phoenix.
Whoa. Ow. Oh, my head.
Oh, hey Drew, what's up?
What's up? Where have you been all this time?
Oh, I've been chilling here. Made Ledger Shredder.
Wait, that was you?
Oh, it worked?
Oh, well, it really depends on your definition of, worked. What the hell is that? Oh my god, what did you do?
Well, Ledger Shredder wasn't the only card I made.